Welcome back to Astroline. It's the official offseason show and podcast of your Houston Astros as we continue on Sports Talk 790. Our special guest right now coming off a breakthrough 2025 season, Bryan King. What a year it was. Finished fourth in the American League with 27 holds. Did a lot of favors for his buddies in the bullpen and the starting rotation for that matter, stranding 23 of 24 runners on base. That was best in the American League. Bryan, first of all, welcome to Astroline, and I'm sure you couldn't be more excited to get ready for 2026 after the success you had in 2025.
Thank you, TK. I appreciate it. I'm happy to be back down here, seeing the guys again, and getting things cranked up.
What gave you the confidence to have so much success last year? I know you pitched in 2024, so you had been through it about 20, 30 games the first year. But then last year, where do you think you made your biggest strides?
I mean, personally, I think it goes back to having a great group of guys around you. There was a lot of success in there, but there was also a lot of failure, and that's something that comes with this game. And the times that any one of us had failed, we'd have our teammates picking us up, and that meant a lot to me. There were some times last season where I had felt a big burden on myself, and guys like Abreu, Neris, they were always there, like, hey, always believe in yourself, and that's something that really helped me throughout the course of the season.
You went from 28 games in 2024 after making your Major League debut June 23rd, 68 games last year. That's a big workload. You, Stephen Okert, Bryan Abreu, you were the trio that stayed healthy and got a lot of games in to help Joe Espada and Bill Murphy and Josh Miller get through that season. Did you guys take a lot of pride in being able to take the ball as many times as you guys did and have the success you did?
Yeah, absolutely. It's no secret the season wears on you, so that was kind of my intro and learning last year of, how do we stay healthy the whole season? What things do we need to adjust? What things do we need to keep the same? And kind of learning that process, seeing the other guys, how they go about their business over the course of 162. It's no joke. And that was something that they also helped me with. I do believe that I have a very good work ethic and routine, but it can always be improved. And that's something talking with Josh Hader, Brian, Steve, guys who've been doing this for a while, they help keep it in perspective and help you through that marathon.
We gave some of the numbers. The inherited runners was incredible. You're stranding all but one runner all season long, which is almost unheard of. The other number that stood out, not only this year, but your first year with 28 games, is a 204 batting average against right-hand hitters. And incredible numbers for a lefty to dominate guys on the opposite side. Is that something you've always been able to do in your career, or is that something that's gotten better as you've moved along?
I mean, I would have to go back and look at the statistics over the years, but I think naturally I feel a little more comfortable with the righty in the box just because that's what I see more, right? And, that's something that I want to work on this year, that, I want to get lefties out at a more consistent rate and get the righties out at a consistent rate as well. So that's kind of our attack plan this year.
How do you attack that? What are the thoughts that you have either with Josh or before Bill went to Pittsburgh and now with Ethan Katz being your assistant pitching coach? What are some of those thoughts to get better lefty on lefty?
A lot of it's how we attack the lefties. I think obviously getting ahead is number one, and then being able to put them away with off-speed or fastball execution and in those two-strike counts. Just be able to manage how we get to that point and stay a little more consistent with the execution of pitches.
And then left-handers in the past, 2-3 years ago, were kind of scarce in the Astros bullpen. Then last year, all of a sudden, like half your bullpen was lefties. I think you had a combined shutout using all lefties last year. That has to be like a subset little fun group to be a part of, all those lefties. Your catch partner was Stephen Okert last year, so you guys must have gotten pretty tight too, huh?
Yeah, absolutely. Steve's great. He's one of the best, and I'm glad I got to meet him last year. I was his locker mate in spring training, so we got to know each other well. And, yeah, our bullpen was really, really good last year. And, from the lefty side, I mean, Sousa, Steve, Hader, like that's a good lineup of lefties, and it's always kind of funny. When Steve got here last year, he was saying, or his agent told him, they don't have any lefties, you got a good chance. And then he got there, and in camp we had 9 or 10 lefties there. He's like, what the heck, man?
And he ended up having his best career year. Okert's been through the grind a lot. Yeah, I mean, you're in your second big league season now, third coming up. Did you lean on him or for anything? Obviously, Hader's been through the grind a lot. Are those guys you're talking to a lot in the pen and getting whatever information that they've gone through in their careers?
Absolutely. They've got a wealth of knowledge. They've been doing this for a while, and they've kind of seen the transition of the game from the data side to just the go out and compete side. And that's something I always kind of try to pick their brains on. They've gained a lot of respect, and it's not easy to do this for any amount of time, let alone 5-6 years. So I have the utmost respect for them, and I'm excited to see them again soon.
Bryan King, our guest today on Astroline. One of the keys to Bryan's game is his fastball plays. Your fastball is something that gets through the zone. Bill Murphy said it just gets on you, and there's something about the angle or the release point. When did you develop the confidence in that fastball? Because it's not the Josh Hader fastball, but you're still able to throw it on the plate and get swings and misses. And when did you realize that your fastball plays different than a lot of other guys?
So it was weird. In the minor leagues, I had always been told that, the velo needed to go up. I think that's pretty standard. Most organizations want velocity. But I had always struggled to get over that hump of, 92, 93. So then after I rehabbed from Tommy John, my first outings back with Sugarland in AAA, we noticed that a lot of guys were swinging and missing at the fastball, and we were like, there's got to be something here. What's going on? And Cesar Salazar, he noticed it. I think one outing, my slider just wasn't there. She's like, all right, well, let's just throw the heater. And they kept swinging and missing. So we were like, all right, there's got to be more to this than just the velo and everything that often gets misconstrued.
And obviously, a few months later, it's June 23rd. Of 2024, you make your big league debut. Take us through that day. I think you found out while you were on the road with Sugarland. Take us through that whole process.
Yeah, we were in El Paso, and we had just clinched our playoff bid for the first half of the year. So we had done our celebration that Tuesday or Wednesday, and Friday night rolls around, and I had left the field already, and Mickey Story, the manager, called me. He said, hey, you're going to El Paso. And I think he wanted a little bit more of a reaction out of me. I was pretty stoic.
You're leaving El Paso.
Yeah. He was like, hey, they need you in Houston. You're going to debut.
Nice.
And so I was like, this is awesome. And
called your family.
Yeah, called the family immediately. And I told my mom, I was like, hey, you guys need to get down to Houston tomorrow. And she's like, why? Did something happen? Is something wrong? I was like, no, quite the opposite. We're going to play for the Astros tomorrow. And so they happened to be at our cabin about an hour and a half outside of Denver. And they left at 4 a.m. that morning, got tickets to fly out. And seeing their reaction was probably the most special moment of the debut. When I had gotten called, they had just started playing God Bless America in the bullpen, so I kind of had a couple seconds to breathe and bring myself back down to earth. But I remember running out. I was just head down on the grass. I was like, do not look up. We got a job to do. And, it went about as good as you could imagine. I think the first pitch, the guy hit it to left, and that was my first time with the Crawford boxes.
Right.
So I see the ball off the bat, and I'm like, oh, no, this is not how this is going to start. But, yeah, it ended up being amazing. Seeing the camera pan to them after the inning ended was very special, and getting to see them on the field, that's something that will travel with me forever.
That's awesome. Yeah, that's what Space City Home Network does a great job. Our producer, Carl Patterson, makes sure we know where the families are for the debut. So we're going to get deeper in with Bryan King here about his background in just a second. But a reminder, the 2026 Bruce Bolt College Classic, benefiting the Astros Foundation, returns to Dyken Park. It is going to be February 27th through March the 1st. The three-day tournament is stacked with the top collegiate baseball programs, including Texas, UTSA, Ole Miss, Baylor, Ohio State, and the national runner-up, Coastal Carolina. Single game, premium, and 3-day packages are available now. Learn more and purchase your tickets today at astros.com/College Classic. More with Bryan King here. Now, a lot of those schools are Power 5 schools. That's not where you ended up. You grew up and spent your whole life in Colorado and then went to McNeese State in Louisiana. Tell us how that transition happened.
So I really didn't get much exposure out of high school. I didn't start talking to colleges until my senior year, and it was mainly a lot of junior colleges. And then my senior fall, I had talked to University of New Mexico a little bit. And at the time, it was kind of weird. I didn't know if I wanted to play baseball in college. I think kind of managing the school side and the demands of athletics was something that intimidated me a little bit. Looking back on it, I don't know why I thought that, but so at the time I was like, I don't know what I want to do. And spring rolled around. I had a really good spring, and then it came down to McNeese and University of Kansas, and McNeese made me a really good offer, and I could tell that they valued me, whereas Kansas I would have been a preferred walk-on. So, I saw it as an opportunity to go somewhere new and get to be a part of a different culture. And there was a lot of culture shock. It was really tough being away from home, but I think it's one of the best things I could have done.
That's awesome. And you end up getting your degree there, natural conservation management. I often ask guys what they would be doing if they weren't baseball players, and sometimes I'm not sure the answer. I'm pretty sure I would know with you. You would have been doing something outdoors in life, right, if you weren't a baseball player?
I like to think so. I don't know exactly what it would be. I still don't know to this day exactly what it would be, but I like being outside. I like the mountains. There's something that's just in my nature about being outdoors. I grew up hunting with my dad and spending time at our cabin on the weekends, so there's a sense of peace there, and it's something that I find a lot of solace in.
And so hunting is a big part of your off season, right?
Yes.
And that's something where you go out, everything, you escape from everything. Is that kind of your zen place to be?
Yeah, I mean, it depends what you're hunting. When you're hunting elk, you're not really escaping much. You're kind of putting yourself through a lot of hell, but it's a good burn, and I think it's more the challenge aspect of it that is so much fun. And even when you do everything right, it might not end up in your favor, and that's kind of how baseball is. It's there's a lot out of your control, but you try to do what you can and give yourself the best chance at succeeding.
For someone who's not necessarily as familiar with hunting, take me through what a day is like chasing down or stalking an elk, and then finally your buddy got one this offseason, right?
Yep. So out west, a lot of the time you're sitting and glassing. You're trying to find where they're at from a distance. Once you kind of know the area they're in, then you try to make your move and get into position, use the topography. The wind is a big factor. So a lot of these animals have a very, very good sense of smell, and if the wind is blowing to them, they understand like certain scents from humans, and if they smell it, they're gone. It doesn't matter if you're 200-300 yards away. They will get out of there. That is in their DNA. It's their instincts. So being able to get within 100 yards of an elk is very challenging. Plus, they can run up a hill in a matter of seconds, and so they'll leave you in the dust. So you have to be very careful of what moves you make, when you move, when you don't move, because they have the other 4 senses as well outside of smell, and it's one of the most challenging but beautiful arenas I've ever stepped in.
That's awesome. That is so cool. And going back to McNeese State, you end up finishing there, you graduated, and then you got your MBA from University of Colorado, Denver, and that was also kind of leading towards doing something. Tell us about what your MBA was in and what you hope to accomplish with that.
So there wasn't a general focus, but originally out of undergrad, my parents had said, we think it'd be a good idea for you to go to grad school. And originally, before I'd gotten drafted, I was thinking, I'll take a gap year and then I might go to law school or something like that. And then when I was drafted, I kind of found out, you have a little bit of time in the mornings. It's not as go as I expected it to be. And so we kind of sat down and talked, and we're like, would you be able to do a little bit of school here and there? And if we break up your classes, could you be able to manage that while playing in the minor leagues. And I figured I could. And, there's a lot of time spent studying on the bus and those mornings before the games. But, I don't know exactly what I'm going to do with it yet, but it's something to have in the back pocket. And I'm grateful my parents have kind of pushed me to kind of keep going, keep learning, because I think there's value in that. I hope I never have to use that degree, but I think it's always good to have it there.
Bryan King's our guest today on Astroline, 30th round pick of the Cubs, which no longer 30th round, doesn't exist anymore in the draft. But prior to that, it seemed like you might have an adventure on your hands in Alaska before the draft. And even after you're drafted, you had a decision to make, right? Because being a fishing captain sounds like a pretty cool gig for a summer in Alaska. Tell us about that.
Yeah, I was excited. So the applications had started in February of my senior year, and there were a couple spots I was looking up there to maybe go spend a summer and just work and hopefully make connections, meet new people, while being able to be outside and do something that I figured I would really enjoy. The draft rolled around, and I had to call that company up and tell them, like, hey, I got another job opportunity, and it's something that I will never be able to get an opportunity at again, so it's something I'm going to take. And they were very respectful. I'm glad that they not allowed me to go, but they encouraged me to go chase a dream that most people don't get to do in their life.
Chase the baseball dream instead of chasing sockeye salmon, huh? Is that what you were going to be captain for the most part?
I don't know exactly what kind of salmon they were. It was all kinds of salmon up there, but they tasted amazing, and it was in some of the most beautiful country in the world.
So you're with the Cubs. You're going through a couple minor league seasons. Then you have Tommy John surgery. During this off season of after Tommy John surgery, the Astros pick you in the minor league Rule 5 draft. Was that a surprise?
Very much so. I didn't expect it at all. It was just kind of another normal off season, but with rehab. And for the first time in my life in the minor leagues, I had a sense of stability, because they were like, hey, you're going to be at the home base. And at the time for the Cubs, it would have been in Arizona. So I was looking for apartments. I had gotten that all lined up. And then sure enough, I had a buddy text me. He's like, hey, congrats. And I said, what are you talking about? And he said, you just got Rule 5 to the Astros. And so in my mind, I start panicking, trying to plan everything. I'm like, oh, no, I got to make all new friends, new teammates. And so handling that change was a little tough for me at first. But as the time went on, I was able to get a little more comfortable with it and see the light.
I mean, when you make new teammates, it's one thing when you make new teammates and you're contributing to wins. You had to meet new people and make new friends and new teammates while you were rehabbing. That had to be kind of an awkward transition, because you're in West Palm Beach, right?
Yep.
So you probably know West Palm Beach as well as anybody in this organization. You spent a lot of time there in rehab, I would think. What was that process like?
It actually helped me a lot. I think it was more beneficial for me than if I had just gone and started the season. Like I said, there was a sense of stability, and I enjoyed that. You go to the field in the morning, you get done at noon or 1, and then you got the rest of the day to relax, do what you need to do. And at the time, I had finished my MBA, so that was the first time where I actually got to kind of slow down and enjoy things a little bit. I made a lot of good friends in rehab, and one of them is playing here for us now, Jaden Murray. So the people were great. Chris, Brian, and Pat, they did a great job with all the rehab stuff. So I'm grateful for them in this journey. And I mean, we go to the beach a lot. we would do everything we could to make it not suck like people say it does. So it's a grind. There's no doubt about it. But you got to be able to find joy in it and find things that contribute to your piece.
Bryan King, our guest. Just one or two more questions, and then we'll let you go. I know you're getting ready for 2026. Last year we gave you the numbers earlier about your phenomenal year. There are often times when you guys were used a lot, either 2 days in a row, 3 out of 4. Was there ever times when Joe Espada or Josh Miller would come up to you and say, hey, unless this is an emergency, we're going to give you the day off? Did you ever mentally unplug, or are you locked in for all 162 as a reliever? Are there days when you know for sure you're not going to have to worry about pitching unless something crazy happens?
There are a few days that you're down. a lot of that will typically come after you throw back-to-backs.
Mm-hmm.
But most of the time they're good at communicating with us, and a lot of it just depends where you're at in the season, right? And if you start doing that out of the gate, there's probably going to be a period in May or June where you're a little gassed, and you just have to be open and honest about that. And at times that's tough because we're competitors. We want to go out there, we want to help the team, but at the same time you have to look at the whole perspective of the season and say, okay, if we're going to be pitching well in September, we also kind of have to pace ourselves and communicate what our body's feeling and where our head's at.
And you and Oakland and Abreu, we mentioned, were the trio that went all the way through the season healthy. We mentioned Oakland earlier and how he impacted you. Abreu is going to be our guest next on Astroline. What are your thoughts about Bryan Abreu? To me, I don't want to lead you in a certain direction, but to me, he's maybe the most underrated or one of the most underrated relievers in the game. With the stuff he has, he could probably close for a lot of teams. What are your thoughts?
Absolutely. He is a hell of a baseball player, and more importantly, he's one of the best human beings I've ever met on this planet. He is so caring. He's so genuine. He's the same every day. It doesn't matter what happened the night before. I can't say enough good things about him. He's always giving everybody a hug when he walks in. He's just a very charismatic human.
With the dynamic of the bullpen, people I think find this interesting behind the scenes. So when he walks in, it's a little different. When Hader walks in, it's a little different. Do you always go in the beginning of the game, or do you walk in once the game's underway to the bullpen?
No. So basically, everybody but Josh will come out early typically.
Okay.
And then once Bryan was closing at the end of last season, then he would come out a little later.
Gotcha.
And I've never been in that situation. I would guess it's just because as a closer, you don't want to be out there for 9 innings. Right. I don't blame him, but for the rest of us, we don't know exactly when our name's going to get called. We have an idea at times, but sometimes things don't go according to plan, and you got to be ready and out there.
If Javier Bracamonte is the godfather of the bullpen because he's been there the longest, who's the guy that did Oakland change the dynamic of the bullpen a lot last year?
Oh yeah. Steve was great. He was always joking around, messing with guys. Most of it was in the locker room before the game, but he'd be out there talking crap during the game. And you need that. You can't be locked into baseball every single pitch for 162 games. You'll drain yourself. You as a bullpen guy, you kind of learn. All right, fifth inning's coming around. Let's start moving around. Let's start locking it in a little bit. But a lot of it just depends on the guy. Some guys like to be hyper-focused. Some guys like to be relaxed, and then all of a sudden the phone rings, and they're like, all right, time to go.
Oh, you have always been a guy that struck me as being relaxed on the mound. I think that has helped contribute to your success. It was fun watching you in 2025 and 4, and then we look forward to next year. Bryan King, thanks for the time today. Appreciate it.
Thank you, TK. I appreciate it.
All right, that's Bryan King. We will have more on Astroline coming up next. One of the best humans and best pitchers in baseball. That is Bryan Abreu, and we'll have more with Astroline right after this on Sports Talk 790.